Hello again. So this week I was wondering, do you have any pets? Now I've got some pets, and if I call one of them, then hopefully she'll come. Roxy! Come on! Roxy! Sit! Good girl! There she is. So this is our lovely dog Roxy, and we rescued Roxy, and she's learnt to be very good. She learnt that when we call her, it means she gets something good like a treat, yes, or a belly rub, or she gets to play with her toys. And she knows that we love her and that we care for her and we feed her. And she's a very food orientated dog, aren't you? There we go. Whoops. One more. Little treats. What about you? Do you have any pets? Well, today I'm going to talk about... Go. Thank you. Yes, so today I want to talk to you about somebody else who looks after animals, and that would be somebody who looks after sheep. Now, do you know what the name of the person is who looks after sheep? Yes, it's a shepherd. Well done. And a shepherd would have to do lots of things to keep his sheep safe. So a shepherd would have to make sure that they were fed first of all, and that they had water, and he would have to protect them. Sometimes you might see pictures of a shepherd and they've got a big long stick and it's got a big hook on the top, and this is a shepherd's crook. Now this is used for many things. The shepherd used it to help him walk along. Perhaps he used the hook bit to help hook the sheep when they get caught into the brambles. He might use it to scare away animals like wolves and things that try to eat his sheep. And he did a very good job in protecting them and keeping them safe. Now, sometimes they would have to travel far into the countryside, and they would have to be out there overnight. Now, if you've got lots of sheep roaming around the fields at night time, as a shepherd, it's very hard to keep track of where they all are. So they would put them in something called a sheepfold, which they would have to make themselves from trees or stones. And they would build an enclosure, a sheepfold, for the sheep to stay in overnight to help keep them safe. I've got a little example of one which I made. So here's one, and this shows the sort of thing that the shepherd would have to have. So this one's just a stone one, but like I said, they might use branches or things like that. And it would be something that would enclose the sheep and keep them nice and safe and keep them all in one place. Now you might notice there's a little gap at the front there of my sheepfold, and this is where you would normally have a gate or a door, and this is where the shepherd would actually sit themselves. So the shepherd would be the person who would act as the door between the sheep being safe in the enclosure and the sheep being allowed to get out and get lost and all sorts of things. And in the Bible today, the Bible reading, Jesus talks about himself as being the door to the sheep. And this is what we think he means by sitting in front of the doorway here to keep the sheep safe. Let me read you the reading. And it's from John. And it's chapter 10. And it's verses 1 to 10. Okay, let's find the page. There it is. Jesus said, "I tell you the truth. The man who does not enter the sheepfold by the door, but climbs in some other way, is a thief and a robber. The one who enters by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. The man who guards the door opens it for him, and the sheep listen to the voice of the shepherd. He calls his own sheep using their names, and he leads them out. He brings out all of his sheep out, and then he goes ahead of them and leads them. They follow him because they know his voice, but they will never follow a stranger. They will run away from him because they don't know his voice." Jesus told the people this story, but they did not understand what it meant. So Jesus said again, "I tell you the truth, I am the door for the sheep. All the people who came before me were thieves and robbers. The sheep did not listen to them. I am the door. The person who enters through me will be saved. He will be able to come in and go out and find pasture. A thief comes to steal and kill and destroy, but I came to give life, life in all its fullness. There's a lot in there, isn't there? But there's a few things in there which you might want to think about a little bit more. So Jesus said about the sheep, and they follow him because they know his voice. A bit like my dog, really. When she comes when I call her name, it's because she trusts me. And I think when we follow Jesus, it's because we know that we can trust him, and because he loves us and he protects us. And then also it mentions the fact that Jesus says, I am the door. And also he says, but I came to give life, life in all its fullness. Well, a shepherd who would lay down in front of the door to protect his sheep was laying down their life, really. And just as Jesus died on the cross for us and laid down his life for us, this is what the shepherd would do. So maybe this helps us to understand why people will call Jesus the Good Shepherd. He says, I am the Good Shepherd, and these actions of a shepherd are very much the actions of someone who loves us and protects us, and that would be Jesus. Now, I have a couple of little things that we can make and do. First thing I want to show you is a bit of a game. It's something that you can do at home. I'm just going to clear my table a little bit. And you can either play this game on your own, or you could play it with somebody else. So what we're going to do is we're going to pretend to be shepherds. And what I've got here is I've got my sheep. Now, I don't know if you can see, but my sheep are just little balls of cotton wool that I've taken, and I've just rolled them in the palm of my hand like this, just to turn them into little balls. Now look, and they look like my little sheep. Okay, so these are going to be my sheep. And then I've taken a cardboard box. Now it's a sort of a flat box here, and I've cut the top off, and I've made a little opening in the front, a bit like my sheepfold here, because this is what it's supposed to be, is my sheepfold. Okay, you can decorate yours if you want, that'd be really good, and you can add lots of details. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a straw, and we're going to drop our wool. I don't know if you'll see it from the table. We're going to drop our wool onto the table, and we're going to pop down our sheepfold. And the aim of the game is to blow your sheep into the sheepfold, okay? So we'll have a go and see if I can get any of them in without blowing them off the table. There, all my sheep are in the sheepfold, all nice and safe. Now, if you wanted to play this with a friend, and you want to keep track on which sheep are yours, because when they're all the same colour, it's very difficult, isn't it? You can do some more cotton wool balls, but this time on these ones, I'm not sure if you can see, but I've put some little black dots on these. So I've got some plain white sheep, and I've got some dotty sheep. Cotton wool isn't very easy to draw on, so dots is probably the easiest thing, but you can do different colours. And then what you can do is you can mix up your sheep, and then you can drop them all together in a pile in the middle, and then you can have a straw. Now you can either just use one sheepfold, and you can all try and get your sheep into the same sheepfold, or you can, if you've got enough boxes, you can have two sheepfolds, and you can have one each, bit kind of like sheep football really, and see who can get all their sheep into their fold first, and protect their sheep. And then you can pop your hand in front of the gateway like the laying down yourself in front of the doorway when you're finished, so you know that you've got your sheep in. So that's one thing you can do, and you can have lots of fun with that with adults. So that's one thing. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to make a door hanger. Obviously the phrase that I'm trying to ask you to remember here is the fact that Jesus is the door. So I thought something that hangs on your door would be very helpful to do that. Now what you're going to need is you're going to need a rectangle of cardboard. This cardboard I just cut from a cereal packet, again my favourite thing to use, and as you can see I've just cut a very long shape. So if you've seen door hangers before, you know that they're quite long, and we need to be able to hang it on the door. So what we need to do is cut out a circle on the top of our rectangle. So I'm just going to take a pencil, and I'm using a glass. Depends on what size your rectangle is, depends on what size circle you need. So just make sure it fits nicely in the middle of the rectangle there, and put it near the top. And then you're just going to draw around your circle shape, whatever it may be. Okay, so I'm not sure, let's have a look. Can you see that? So there's a circle on there. Now I find it easier to cut a little slit across into my circle before I cut my circle out. But you can just punch a hole through and cut your circle out, you don't have to, but this is how I do mine. So we'll cut the circle. Sort of circle, a little bit rough. So look, there we go, you can see. So your hanger's going to go through the door there, door handle. Now we're going to colour it in a bit. So I want to make mine kind of like a field, like you would find. So I'm going to use blue and have a bit of sky on mine. And then I'm going to use a bit of green to make the grass. You can use coloured paper if you wanted to and stick that on instead. If you don't, colouring it is fine. Okay, so I've done some blue. Now I'm just going to do the green for the grass on the bottom. Okay, and that's the green done. So there we go, you can kind of see my grass and my sky there for you. Nice sunny day where I am. We're going to make a sheep now to go onto our door hanger. Now the way that I'm going to do mine, if you've got some cotton wool, I've got plenty, we're going to put that, a dollop, what's a good word, isn't it, dollop, we're going to put a dollop of glue onto the grass part of our picture, and then we're going to push down, let me see, we're going to push down the cotton wool to make our sheep's body. Okay, next we need to make a little head for our sheep, and I'm going to make mine on a piece of paper here like this. So we need a good shape for a sheep's head. So how I start mine off is I start mine off with like a U shape, so a big wide bottom U shape that gets a bit narrow at the top. And then I just put a little arch just to connect it to the U. So then we have sort of an eggy, ovally shape there. Okay. Now we need to remember to leave some white space on here for the sheep's eyes. So look, you can see I've sort of got some circles of white left. I'm going to colour the rest in black. And then I'll make it look like two little dots there in the middle of the white circles that I left. And then we just need to add some ears. So the ears need to come out on the side of the head, roughly level with wherever you put the eyes. There we go, wonky ears. And that's all you need to do. And then you need to cut that out. Because it's quite small, it can be a bit fiddly. So you might want a grown-up to help you. don't worry if you chop off his ears or anything, you can just glue him back on again. I did that on my practice. So it's easy to do because they are small little things that you're cutting out. There we go. Oops, nearly done. Ooh. So that's my little sheep head. If I hold in front of the white there, you might be able to see it a little bit better. Okay, then that needs to stick on to our body of our sheep. So put the glue on the back of the head. Oops. Oops, and there we go. Pulled his ear off. There we go. I said I pulled the ears off, but we'll just stick it back on again. You'll never know. Okay, so can you see? There's the little head on the sheep's body. And he's quite a fat sheep actually, isn't he? I'm just going to give him some little legs as well. 4 little legs. There we go, legs at the bottom there. Right, now it's always important to have something to remember. So we're going to write a little message on our door hanger, and it's going to say, Jesus said. I am the door for the sheep. And if you want to, you can write where you can find that in the Bible. So if you just write John, and that's chapter 10, and that was verse 7, that was in. There we go. So let me just pop all my things away, and then I will hold up my finished door hanger. There we go. What do you think? It's my fat little sheep on the bottom there. So when you go into your room at night, or every time you go into your room, you can remember that Jesus is the door. Jesus is the way to God, to heaven, and he laid down his life for us because he protected us. And hopefully that'll help you to remember that story there. Anyway, we're just going to finish as usual with the Lord's Prayer. So if you want to join in, and hopefully you know a little bit more of it by now, you can, or you can just say the Amen at the end. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. Thank you for joining me again, and I'm sure I'll see you again soon. Bye.